Welcome to SZR Broadcasting Corporation. For today's entertainment news, December 16, 2013. Peter O'Toole dead at 81. Peter O'Toole, the charismatic actor who achieved instant stardom as Lawrence of Arabia and was nominated 8 times for an Academy Award, has died, his agent said Sunday. He was 81. O'Toole died Saturday after a long illness, Steve Kenis said in a brief statement. O'Toole's daughter Kate said in the statement that their family was overwhelmed by the outpouring of real love and affection being expressed towards Peter, and to them, during this unhappy time. In due course there will be a memorial filled with song and good cheer, as Peter would have wished. O'Toole got his first Oscar nomination for 1962's Lawrence of Arabia, his last for Venus in 2007. With that he set the record for most nominations without ever winning, though he had accepted an honorary Oscar in 2003. A reformed, but unrepentant, hellraiser, O'Toole long suffered from ill health. Always thin, he had grown wraith-like in later years, his famously handsome face eroded by years of hard drinking. But nothing diminished his flamboyant manner and candor. He once said, "If you can't do something willingly and joyfully, then don't do it. If you give up drinking, don't go moaning about it, go back on the bottle. Do as thou wilt." O'Toole began his acting career as one of the most exciting young talents on the British stage. His 1955 Hamlet, at the Bristol Old Vic, was critically acclaimed. International stardom came in David Lean's Lawrence of Arabia. With only a few minor movie roles behind him, O'Toole was unknown to most moviegoers when they first saw him as T.E. Lawrence, the mythic British World War I soldier and scholar who led an Arab rebellion against the Turks. His sensitive portrayal of Lawrence's complex character garnered O'Toole his first Oscar nomination. O'Toole was tall, fair and strikingly handsome, and the image of his bright blue eyes peering out of an Arab headdress in Lean's spectacularly photographed desert epic was unforgettable. Playwright Noel Coward once said that if O'Toole had been any prettier, they would have had to call the movie Lawrence of Arabia. In 1964's Becket, O'Toole played King Henry II to Richard Burton's Thomas Becket, and won another Oscar nomination. Burton shared O'Toole's fondness for drinking, and their offset carousing made headlines. O'Toole played Henry again in 1968 in The Lion in Winter, opposite Katharine Hepburn, for his third Oscar nomination. 4 more nominations followed, in 1968 for Goodbye, Mr. Chips, in 1971 for The Ruling Class, in 1980 for The Stunt Man, and in 1982 for My Favorite Year. It was almost a quarter-century before he received his 8th and last, for Venus. Seamus Peter O'Toole was born August 2, 1932, the son of Irish bookie Patrick Spats O'Toole and his wife Constance. There is some question about whether Peter was born in Connemara, Ireland, or in Leeds, Northern England, where he grew up. After a teenage foray into journalism at the Yorkshire Evening Post and national military service with the Navy, young O'Toole auditioned for the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art and won a scholarship. He went from there to the Bristol Old Vic and soon was on his way to stardom, helped along by an early success in 1959 at London's Royal Court Theatre in The Long and the Short and the Tall. The image of the renegade hellraiser stayed with O'Toole for decades, although he gave up drinking in 1975 following serious health problems and major surgery. He did not, however, give up smoking unfiltered Gauloises cigarettes in an ebony holder. That and his penchant for green socks, voluminous overcoats and trailing scarves lent him a rakish air and suited his fondness for drama in the old-fashioned bravura manner. A month before his 80th birthday in 2012, O'Toole announced his retirement from a career that he said had fulfilled him emotionally and financially, bringing him together with fine people, good companions with whom he shared the inevitable lot of all actors, flops and hits. He said, however, it's his belief that one should decide for oneself when it is time to end one's stay. So he bid the profession a dry-eyed and profoundly grateful farewell. In retirement, O'Toole said he would focus on the 3rd volume of his memoirs. Good parts were sometimes few and far between, but he takes whatever good part comes along, O'Toole told The Independent on Sunday newspaper in 1990. And if there isn't a good part, then he does anything, just to pay the rent. Money is always a pressure. And waiting for the right part, anyone could wait forever. So he turn up and do the best he can. The 1980 Macbeth in which he starred was a critical disaster of heroic proportions. But it played to sell out audiences, largely because the savaging by the critics brought out the curiosity seekers. The thought of it makes his nose bleed, he said years later. In 1989, however, O'Toole had a big stage success with Geoffrey Bernard is Unwell, a comedy about his old drinking buddy, the legendary layabout and ladies' man who wrote The Spectator magazine's weekly low-life column when he was sober enough to do so. The honorary Oscar came 20 years after his 7th nomination for My Favorite Year. By then it seemed a safe bet that O'Toole's prospects for another nomination were slim. He was still working regularly, but in smaller roles unlikely to earn awards attention. O'Toole graciously accepted the honorary award, quipping, "Always a bridesmaid, never a bride, my foot," as he clutched his Oscar statuette. He had nearly turned down the award, sending a letter asking that the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences hold off on the honorary Oscar until he turned 80. Hoping another Oscar-worthy role would come his way, O'Toole wrote, "I am still in the game and might win the bugger outright." The last chance came in Venus, in which he played a lecherous old actor consigned to roles as feeble-minded royals or aged men on their deathbeds. By failing again to win, he broke the tie for futility which had been shared with his old drinking buddy, Richard Burton. O'Toole divorced Welsh actress Anne Phillips in 1979 after 19 years of marriage. The couple had 2 daughters, Kate and Pat. A brief relationship with American model Karen Somerville led to the birth of his son Lorcan in 1983, and a change of lifestyle for O'Toole. After a long custody battle, a U.S. judge ruled Somerville should have her son during school vacations, and O'Toole would have custody during the school year. "The pirate ship has berthed," he declared, happily taking on the responsibilities of fatherhood. He learned to coach schoolboy cricket and, when he was in a play, the curtain time was moved back to allow him part of the evenings at home with his son. For more news and reviews around the world, visit and subscribe to our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/szrbctv.